How can the University of Hong Kong turn a blind eye to the alleged job fraud and campus bullying by the faculty members of the School of Public Health? Months ago, I submitted a letter of allegation to the current presidents of the University of Hong Kong regarding the alleged misconduct of Zhu Huichen, a faculty member in the School of Public Health. However, due to the lack of a reasonable response and action from the university, I have decided to make the details of the incident public. I hope to gain the attention of professors and scholars in the higher education community in Hong Kong, in order to ensure that this matter receives adequate attention and a convincing resolution. I hereby formally accuse Zhu Huichen, a CCP and faculty member of the School of Public Health at the University of Hong Kong, of being incompetent for the position of associate professor with tenure at HKU due to her poor educational background and low academic research capabilities. Furthermore, I assert that the entire appointment and promotion evaluation process involved inappropriate practices, and Zhu's conduct may even constitute job fraud. I request the university to conduct a thorough and objective investigation into the serious misconduct allegations against Zhu Huichen. Furthermore, I urge the university to reassess and evaluate Zhu Huichen's academic abilities and appointment to her position. The current president of the University of Hong Kong, Professor Zhang Xiang, as well as the two vice presidents responsible for personnel and academic research, have all previously served at the renowned institution, the University of California, Berkeley. They should have a responsibility to investigate any dishonest academic practices and appointment evaluations within the university in order to uphold the institution's regulations and academic reputation. At the same time, I believe it is necessary to publicly disclose the inappropriate behavior of Guan Yi, a faculty member at the School of Public Health of the University of Hong Kong. His volatile temper and abusive language are widely known, and he frequently uses insulting words, causing psychological fear and severe trauma to many students and employees. His actions may even constitute campus bullying. I hope the university administration takes this matter seriously, investigates and understands the various alleged acts of bullying by Guan Yi at the University of Hong Kong. It is important that Guan Yi is instructed to rectify his habitual abusive temper and the use of insulting language. If he fails to improve, the university administration should assess whether Guan Yi is suitable to continue his employment at the University of Hong Kong or if it is appropriate for him to retire in due course. I obtained my bachelor's and PhD degrees from Sun Yat-sen University and the University of Hong Kong, respectively. Before joining Guan Yi's team, I worked as postdoctoral fellow at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. I have received a good education and have maintained positive relationships with the academic institutions where I have studied and worked. I am not someone who simply causes trouble without reason. As an alumnus and former employee of the University of Hong Kong, I hope that my concerns will be met with a positive response and given sufficient attention by the university administration. I was a postdoctoral fellow in Guan Yi's team at the School of Public Health, the University of Hong Kong. My contract ended in February 2021. During my 4 years of working in Guan Yi's team, despite discovering various alleged serious violations and even potential illegal activities by Zhu Huichen and her superior Guan Yi, I chose to remain silent due to considerations of work collaboration and other factors. Since I have now left Guan Yi's team and no longer have the aforementioned concerns, I believe it is necessary to expose and accuse Zhu Huichen of academic dishonesty and suspected job fraud. Furthermore, I feel the need to publicly disclose and lodge a complaint against Guan Yi, Zhu's superior, regarding his habitual violent temper and the use of insulting language, which may constitute campus bullying. I earnestly request the university administration to conduct a thorough investigation into Zhu Huichen's alleged job fraud, re-evaluate her academic abilities and position appointment, and give sufficient attention to and rectify Guan Yi's behavior, which is suspected of campus bullying. I solemnly assure that all the accusations against Zhu Huichen and disclosures of Guan Yi's inappropriate behavior mentioned in the letter are true and can be verified through investigations conducted by the university. I am willing to take legal responsibility for any false accusations listed. Zhu Huichen's personal resume is as follows. Zhu obtained a bachelor's and a PhD degree in biology from Zhongshan University i.e. Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou. She is currently employed as an associate professor with tenure in the School of Public Health at the University of Hong Kong. After graduating from Guangzhou, Zhu moved to Hong Kong in 2007 and became a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Microbiology under the supervision of Guan Yi at HKU. Since then, Zhu has been working with Guan Yi's team. After 4 years of working in HKU, Zhu was promoted to Research Assistant Professor, RAP, for 2 years, followed by Assistant Professor AP. After working as an assistant professor for 4 years in the same team, Zhu was promoted to the current position of associate professor with tenure. Guan Yi's personal profile is as follows. Guan Yi is originally from Jiangxi, China and currently holds the position of chair professor at the School of Public Health, the University of Hong Kong. He obtained his bachelor's and master's degrees in mainland China and continued to work as a postdoctoral researcher in his advisor's team at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, USA, after receiving his PhD degree from the University of Hong Kong. In 2000, his advisor arranged for Guan Yi to join the Department of Microbiology at the University of Hong Kong as a research assistant professor, RAP. In early 2005, Guan Yi was promoted to full professor. During this time, he published several papers in journals such as Nature regarding the outbreak of the SARS virus around 2003. The evidence regarding Zhu Huachen's alleged academic misconduct and even possible job fraud can be summarized as follows. Firstly, Zhu Huachen only holds a PhD degree from Sun Yat-sen University in mainland China. The academic reputation and the standards of doctoral education at that university have not gained widespread international recognition, nor is it considered a globally renowned institution. Such an educational background starkly contrasts with many faculty members at the University of Hong Kong who come from internationally renowned institutions such as Berkeley, Stanford, Oxford, Cambridge, and others. Furthermore, besides having a poor doctoral educational background that does not meet the standards for faculty appointment at the University of Hong Kong, Zhu Huachen also lacks any overseas postdoctoral research experience. Zhu Huachen completed her entire undergraduate and doctoral education in mainland China. From the time Zhu joined Guan Yi's team as a postdoc in Hong Kong until her current position as a university faculty member, she has never left Guan's team and has no overseas experience. Her publication of papers and promotions in her position were achieved through the support of Guan Yi. It is even difficult to find another tenured faculty member at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Hong Kong, with such a poor educational background. Such an educational background is also reflected in Zhu's relatively poor English proficiency, which greatly diminishes the quality of her classroom teaching and even creates an awkward atmosphere. Because Zhu completed her doctoral studies primarily in Chinese as the main language of instruction in mainland China before coming to Hong Kong, and also spent a long period working at Shantou University after joining Guan Yi's team, it has resulted in her English proficiency being noticeably inferior to other faculty members at HKU who graduated from English medium institutions. This is primarily evident in the following aspects. Zhu exhibits significant systematic pronunciation errors in English, such as not converting SP to B sounds, among other obvious issues. Additionally, Zhu often struggles to keep up with English language inquiries from overseas students, particularly those from English-speaking countries like the UK and the US. Often needing students to repeat or confirm questions to ensure her understanding, which significantly hampers the quality of instruction and does not meet the requirements for appointment as a tenured faculty member at HKU. Thirdly, based on Zhu Huachen's entire academic profile, it can be observed that she is not a researcher capable of independently conducting high-quality research work. This discrepancy is highly inconsistent with her high-paying tenured position. Since her postdoctoral years until now, Zhu Huachen has been solely affiliated with the research team led by Guan Yi, both in terms of personal research publications and career advancements. To this day, Zhu Huachen still lacks the ability to independently lead and carry out high-quality research projects. All the papers that Zhu Huachen has published in academic journals such as Nature and Science as a co-first author or corresponding author were completed under the guidance of Guan Yi. Even without Zhu Huachen's involvement, these papers could still have been published. The fact that Guan Yi had already published several papers in journals like Nature before Zhu joined the team in 2007 is sufficient evidence to support this. Moreover, Zhu Huachen's publication record was quite ordinary before joining the Guan Yi team. In terms of the nature of the papers, these publications were released during the special period of the outbreak, demonstrating their special timeliness and strong relevance to the global attention on the viral epidemic. I have reservations regarding the research quality of such papers. I believe that in these papers, the role played by Zhu Huachen has never been decisive, and she has never demonstrated the ability to independently lead and complete high-quality research work. Even a technician within Guan Yi's team, such as Li Lifeng and others, can execute instructions and follow procedures to complete project tasks, and then publish papers in Nature as co-first authors. This does not provide much indication of an individual's academic ability. Fourth, Throughout the process of promotion and attainment of academic titles, Zhu Huachen's mindset and various behaviors have been absurd. She has always relied on and expected special favors and arrangements from Guan Yi in terms of paper publications to achieve her pursuit of a stable high-paying position. Moreover, the entire process is filled with many ridiculous and laughable incidents. For example, there was a time when a project was being arranged in the office, and Zhu Huachen appeared anxious and passive under Guan Yi's shouting. She urgently defended herself, crying out, "Throughout all this time, with so many things, which time was it not me who did them? Which of the tasks you arranged did I not follow through with?" Zhu Huachen twisted and stomped her feet, continuously attempting to prove to Guan Yi that she had completed all the tasks assigned by him and claimed the credit for herself. She believed that she deserved her current salary and position. At that moment, Guan Yi looked at Zhu Huachen, who was crying and making a scene like a child begging for candy, and thereby his yelling subsided. Throughout the whole process, Zhu Huachen's behavior and mentality appeared absurd and childish. Another example is, during the interaction with Guan Yi in their work, Zhu Huachen often behaved as if Guan Yi was an untouchable authority and a saint that should never be offended. This is because since Zhu Huachen joined Guan Yi's team as a postdoctoral employee, she has always relied on Guan Yi's assistance in her work. Guan Yi also seemed willing to accept such an untouchable role. In this abnormal atmosphere, Guan Yi's behavior within the team sometimes is both laughable and ridiculous. For example, Guan Yi once solemnly praised Zhu Huachen in front of two senior employees who were among the earliest members of his team, saying, "Zhu Huachen has grown up now," with a tone that resembled an elder caring for a child. In addition, Zhu Huachen often seizes every opportunity to meticulously enhance Guan Yi's image, highlighting his elevated status. For instance, there was a time when Zhu Huachen helped tidy up the main seat for Guan Yi and sternly admonished him, saying, "You should be sitting in the chairman's seat here, while others can sit on the side." Another example is, Zhu Huachen once said earnestly, before Dean Guo took office, whenever Dr. Guan asked him for something, he would promptly attend to it. But now, he doesn't even respond. Guan Yi finds such words and actions by Zhu that highlight his elevated status to be greatly satisfying. Zhu Huachen, instead of engaging in fair competition with other scholars based on academic abilities, seeks to please Guan Yi with such attitude and behavior in order to gain assistance in publishing papers and secure high-paying positions. Such an approach towards workplace responsibilities is simply absurd and ridiculous. Fifth, after obtaining tenure, Zhu Huachen has not published any papers as a corresponding author or co-first author in high-level journals for the following 3 to 4 years. Until my departure at the end of 2020, there were only 2 research papers recorded in the SCI database that could be found: Journal of Infection. Junbo Chen et al. 2020, The Journal of Infectious Diseases. Sun Wu Yun et al. 2018. In Hong Kong society, as well as in developed countries in Europe and America, it is widely recognized that a faculty member at HKU who is solely responsible for teaching and research but lacks the ability to independently conduct high-quality research should have their employment contract terminated rather than being granted tenure. The leniency shown by the university towards a mediocre faculty member is tantamount to unfair treatment of other HKU scholars who work hard and compete fairly. It also renders the performance evaluation system for faculty at HKU meaningless. Sixth, Zhu Huachen lacks the ability to effectively communicate with PhD students and guide them in completing their doctoral studies. This has resulted in the dismissal of a PhD student named Jiang Junfei from the team. Guan Yi's team established a branch institution at Shantou University in mainland China, and Zhu Huachen has been accompanying Guan Yi in their operations at Shantou University while holding a position and recruiting students there. In comparison to other laboratories at the University of Hong Kong, communication with students in Hong Kong is already inconvenient, making the need for improved communication and understanding even more crucial. However, Zhu Huachen took a different approach by not effectively communicating with the students and making efforts to solve problems. Instead, she used her power to dismiss students midway without proper resolution. Meanwhile, Guan Yi has been focusing extensively on the construction of the Virus Research Institute at Shantou University in recent years, showing little involvement in the cultivation of students at the University of Hong Kong. At that time, Guan Yi merely listened to Zhu Huachen's report and then, together with Zhu Huachen, yelled a few sentences at the student Jiang, agreeing to dismiss the student on the spot. However, from my observations, the student in question is usually amiable, polite, mild-mannered, and of good character. He is by no means someone incapable of being taught. Yet, he has faced such an outcome in his academic pursuits, and it is doubtful whether his legitimate rights and interests at the University of Hong Kong have been adequately protected. Furthermore, although Zhu Huichen has co-authored several papers with Guan Yi in journals such as Nature and Science, none of the few PhD students she has supervised at the University of Hong Kong have ever published a paper as a corresponding or co-first author in Nature or Science after 4 or 5 years of study. In fact, many of them did not have any publications even by the date of their PhD thesis defense. Under Zhu Huichen's guidance, their academic and research performance has been quite ordinary. Whenever a major virus epidemic outbreak captures widespread attention in society, Guan Yi takes the initiative to organize nationwide data collection on the virus and undertake research projects of great interest to journals such as Nature and Science. The role of corresponding or co-author is assigned to Zhu Huichen, even though Zhu still lacks the ability to independently lead such research work. Meanwhile, this role is not assigned to the students supervised by Zhu Huichen. The subtle manipulation during this process is tacitly understood. 7th, Zhu Huichen, within a short span of 3 to 4 years at the School of Public Health, was promoted from an assistant professor AP to the position of tenured associate professor. The rapidity of the evaluation process raises suspicions of conflicts of interest, and the acquisition of a high-paying position that is disproportionately unrelated to Zhu Huichen's academic abilities raises concerns of misconduct in duty. As early as 2010, Guan Yi, a former faculty member in the Department of Microbiology, and Malik Piris, a scholar from the same department, had a dispute with their superior Yuan Kwok-Yung. The outcome of the dispute was that both Guan Yi and Malik Piris left the Department of Microbiology. At that time, Guan Yi had already started packing his belongings to move and work at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Later, Guan Yi and others requested the intervention of Professor Sui Lapji, a geneticist who was then serving as the president of HKU, and as a result, they were able to transfer to the School of Public Health for employment. Around 2013, after only about a year in office, the then director of the School of Public Health, Gabriel Leung, was promoted to dean of the Faculty of Medicine. The vacant director position was taken over by Malik Piris. During this time, Guan Yi managed to secure Zhu Huichen, a member of his team, the position of tenure-track assistant professor with the support of the director. Furthermore, Zhu Huichen's tenure evaluation was completed within a short span of 3 to 4 years during Malik Piris' tenure. Given the relationship between Guan Yi and Malik Piris, as well as their long-term collaboration in research, the rapidity of the evaluation process raises suspicions of behind-the-scenes manipulation and conflicts of interest. Such behavior is highly unfair to other researchers at HKU who are independently conducting their scientific research. Moreover, considering the aforementioned evidence of Zhu Huichen's mediocre personal academic abilities, the entire process is riddled with suspicions of favoritism, nepotism, and the transfer of benefits. Zhu is even suspected of job fraud. 8th, Zhu Huichen cunningly obtained a high-paying position that is completely disproportionate to her educational background and academic abilities. The entire process is inseparable from Guan Yi's tendency to seek flattery and Zhu's consistent behavior of flattery towards Guan. Guan Yi's arrogant and self-aggrandizing personality, along with his frequent self-praise, are commonly observed within the team, and the team members are generally aware of it. From what I have observed, Guan Yi often indulges in self-praise when agreeing to others' requests, even going as far as boasting about his position. There have been several instances where he would boast about his medical knowledge and talent while providing treatment advice to relatives of seriously ill patients. This indiscriminate self-praise regardless of the context or importance of the situation has left me feeling disgusted. Moreover, Guan Yi enjoys hearing others praise him, and it is precisely Zhu Huichen's consistent admiration towards Guan Yi that pleases him greatly. For example, Zhu Huichen once praised Guan Yi in front of me, saying, "Professor Guan's epidemic prevention and control work over the years has saved millions of lives. Without him, at least several million people would have perished." This remark made Guan Yi visibly delighted. He immediately responded, saying, "If it weren't for the constraints of the rules, she would have been promoted to professor long ago." Another example is, Zhu Huichen publicly praised Guan Yi in a real-time communication chat group with dozens of team members. She praised Guan Yi for personally participating in the cleaning of the under-construction Virus Research Institute building at the construction site of Shantou University. She described it with vivid text and images, highlighting how excellent and noble Guan Yi is as her boss, worthy of admiration and learning. Guan Yi's account was also in that chat group. In short, Zhu Huichen's exaggerated and public praises for Guan Yi are abundant. Such consistent and exaggerated public admiration for Guan has indeed brought tangible financial and career benefits to Zhu. The entire process of mutual exchange raises concerns of potential violations. Finally, Guan Yi has a habit of making highly aggressive criticisms towards employees in his own team and other scholars with whom he has no personal relationship, in order to highlight his own status and uniqueness. I believe that, like other employees, I am often subjected to intense derogation and criticism from Guan Yi behind the backs of other employees. His private conversations also indirectly reflect Zhu Huachen's poor personal research abilities. Guan Yi has said more than once that Zhu Huachen does not have the ability to independently lead a team to accomplish high-quality research work. Furthermore, if she were to leave the team now, she would not be able to complete any significant academic papers in the future. I don't have recordings of these private conversations, so the individuals involved could even deny them. However, what I want to emphasize is that both Guan and I speak Chinese, and it is highly unlikely that I repeatedly misunderstood or misinterpreted Guan's Chinese expressions. Guan Yi's papers on the viral epidemic published in Nature and Science require the organization and coordination of nationwide and even cross-national virus surveillance and sample collection. The collection of data heavily relies on the interpersonal network established by Guan through his personal connections with academic institutions in various provinces and cities in mainland China. Therefore, I also believe that even with another 6-year performance evaluation period given to Zhu Huachen, she would not be able to accomplish such work based on her abilities. Certainly, she would not be able to publish high-level papers in journals like Nature and Science, nor pass the evaluation for tenured associate professor within a short period of 3 to 4 years. This raises serious concerns of violation of regulations. Furthermore, virus outbreaks that attract widespread attention in society often occur every few years. Such public health events are particularly favored by journals like Nature and Science. Under Guan Yi's arrangement, Zhu Huachen could continue to publish papers in these journals and even advance to the position of full professor through this pathway. As a prestigious regional university in Asia, the University of Hong Kong, in my opinion, would not encourage or welcome such performance evaluations of its faculty members. Such behavior not only fails to reflect the research capabilities of the faculty members themselves but also has the potential to severely tarnish the academic reputation of the university in a highly negative way. Hong Kong is a society governed by the rule of law, and deliberately obtaining a high-paying job through false information or documents can constitute a criminal offense. Hong Kong courts have made judgments in the past on similar cases. Based on the statements regarding Zhu Huachen's personal information mentioned above, I believe that her poor educational background and inferior research capabilities are highly inconsistent with the high-paying tenured position at the University of Hong Kong. It also goes against the traditions and regulations of faculty appointments at HKU. These dishonest acts of opportunism and deception even raise suspicions of job fraud. As an alumnus and former employee of the University of Hong Kong, I respectfully request the 3 university presidents to conduct an objective and thorough investigation into Zhu Huachen's dishonesty and alleged job fraud. I also urge a reassessment of Zhu's academic abilities and position appointment. Additionally, I believe it is necessary to publicly address the various inappropriate behaviors of Guan Yi. His volatile temperament, widely known to all, has caused psychological fear and severe trauma among many students and staff. Furthermore, Guan often uses insulting language, knowingly engaging in behavior that is inappropriate and even bordering on campus bullying. Such egregious conduct is not acceptable in any society governed by the rule of law. I request the university to investigate and take appropriate action to address these issues. The following are detailed accounts of Guan Yi's inappropriate behavior, which can be verified through an investigation conducted by the university. Firstly, Guan Yi has a habitual tendency to explode and shout at team members. His language is coarse, and this behavior persists regardless of whether it is related to scientific research or not. It is widely known that Guan easily loses control of his emotions, and basically all students and members in the team in Hong Kong hold a sense of fear towards him. Secondly, based on my observation, there was an incident in the office where Guan Yi shouted and yelled at a female postdoctoral researcher named Jin Ziyan in front of everyone. Dr. Jin was scared and started crying on the spot, and several other team members present were also visibly frightened and unsure how to react to Guan Yi's outburst. Dr. Jin was an honored recipient of the HKPF scholarship and entered the University of Hong Kong to pursue a PhD program. Therefore, she was an excellent and diligent student academically, and not someone with a rebellious nature. However, she was subjected to Guan Yi's shouting and berating in front of everyone, which caused her to cry on the spot. Guan Yi's behavior is suspected of abuse of power and violation of regulations. Thirdly, from what I witnessed, there was a female student named Oz Hihu in the team who was about to graduate with a PhD degree. She was also an outstanding student who entered HKU with the honor of receiving the HKPF scholarship. On one occasion, after a conversation in Guan Yi's office, Oz Hihu expressed her anger and muttered, "He better not provoke me," with an extremely furious expression on her face. Oh and Zeng, these outstanding students who entered HKU with the HKPF scholarship, seemed to have suddenly become worthless and troublesome students under Guan Yi's supervision, receiving severe reprimands. It is extremely ironic. Fourth, from what I witnessed, Huang Py, a female PhD student from Taiwan, experienced a delay in her graduation for several months. During the stage of submitting her thesis, she was loudly berated by Guan Yi in the office. Huang nodded repeatedly, appearing bewildered and unsure of how to respond. Once, laboratory administrator Eric Yip entered Guan Yi's office to report on a matter, and without warning, Guan Yi shouted at him. The employee was clearly startled and physically shook in reflex. Guan Yi's behavior was highly inappropriate. Kish, a female PhD student from India, often expressed her fear of Guan Yi when talking to other students. Yu Guangchuang, a postdoctoral fellow in the team, complained about Guan Yi's habitual yelling and scolding, saying, in his eyes, he thinks he's the most outstanding, and everyone else is just a bunch of waste. The mentioned facts regarding the fear and complaints of students and staff towards Guan Yi are just the tip of the iceberg. Similar instances abound, and I urge the university administration to conduct an investigation and gather further information. Fifth, based on my impressions and personal experiences, in conversations with Guan Yi, he would suddenly shout, creating a tense and uncomfortable atmosphere. This made it difficult to engage in meaningful dialogue, and one had to be extremely cautious and try to avoid such habitual outbursts from Guan Yi. I do not recall any instance where a conversation with Guan Yi was conducted in a normal and calm tone from beginning to end. However, from what I have observed, when encountering individuals with higher authority than Guan Yi, he often behaves very politely and courteously, with a pleasant smile. This is in stark contrast to his usual arrogant, aggressive, and abusive behavior. Moreover, when talking about these prestigious individuals, Guan Yi loves to assert and emphasize his close relationships with them on the spot. He would say things like, "I am very close with the former head of the Department of Pathology at HKU, I have had meals with Mayor so-and-so multiple times, I directly communicate with Dean, Dr. Gabriel Leung regularly, Mayor so-and-so even had a huge portrait of me erected in Shenzhen City's Hetao region," and so on. His self-satisfied expression and the air of familiarity he assumes stand in stark contrast to his usual arrogant and abusive treatment of subordinate employees. It is evident that Guan Yi is well aware of his own abusive behavior towards his subordinates. He consciously engages in such behavior after weighing the pros and cons, fully understanding its inappropriateness. This deliberate action suggests a possible case of bullying. Deliberate acts of campus bullying, as a knowing offense, constitute a serious incident that would not be tolerated in any lawful and civilized society. Sixth, in Guan Yi's office, where laboratory administrator Eric Yip came in to report that President Zhang Xiang had decided not to attend a ceremony for the Greater Bay Area research funding, Guan Yi immediately yelled out, "If he doesn't want to go, then forget it. Let me tell you, this is a very disrespectful behavior towards others." The atmosphere in the room became tense in an instant due to Guan's outburst. There was another incident when Guan Yi and I were having a conversation, and I casually mentioned the daily work of Professor Lau from the Department of Pediatrics. As soon as Guan Yi heard Professor Lau's name, he immediately became extremely aggressive and yelled out, "I have more resources than Lau. Lau is very cunning." The atmosphere instantly became tense. Professor Lau, as the chair professor in the Department of Pediatrics, was the overall team leader during my PhD studies at HKU. He has been dedicated to clinical work for a long time and is widely recognized as a witty, approachable, and compassionate clinical doctor and scholar. Those who know Professor Lau would agree that he treats patients, students, and even strangers with humor, kindness, and genuine care. He is highly respected and admired by the staff and students in the team. Exactly because of this, it is perplexing and puzzling to witness the sudden outburst and hostility displayed by Guan Yi towards Professor Lau. It is evident that Professor Lau is not among the individuals with whom Guan is close. There are many similar incidents, and the two examples mentioned here are just a glimpse of it. It is not difficult to see that Guan Yi has a habitual tendency to shout and has a temper that is easily out of control. 7th, from what I have observed, Guan Yi has a severe sense of hierarchy and often uses derogatory language when speaking about others. Whenever it comes to individuals whom Guan Yi is not familiar with, he tends to display a highly aggressive behavior. He often attacks others in front of his team members, shouting phrases like "so-and-so is a low-level employee. You interrupted me when I spoke. If it were my child, I would have slapped them for interrupting me. You receive such a high salary from me every month. I didn't even know who so-and-so faculty member was before this. Tell me, who is more accomplished, your PhD advisor or me? I am a chair professor, not Keiji Fukuda, then a professor and director of the School of Public Health." And so on. His shouting is filled with hostility. What is particularly unacceptable is that an ordinary person who works hard in different positions to support themselves is labeled as low-level employee by Guan Yi with a derogatory tone. It not only demonstrates Guan Yi's severe hierarchical consciousness and lack of respect for others but also carries an insulting connotation. The aforementioned incidents can be verified through inquiries and investigations conducted by the university authorities into the students and members of Guan Yi's team. Additionally, I believe that there are other inappropriate behaviors exhibited by Guan Yi that warrant attention and action from the university. Firstly, under the sponsorship of the Li Ka-shing Foundation, Guan Yi's team established the HKU Stu Joint Institute of Virology at Shantou University in Guangdong. Not only did Guan Yi and Zhu Huochen spend a significant amount of time working in Shantou as appointed professors at Shantou University, but they also recruited several dozen students and employees locally. Even the team's PhD students and employees from the University of Hong Kong were required to be stationed in Shantou on a regular basis, sometimes spending more time there than in Hong Kong. Some PhD students even spent most of their time receiving training and pursuing their doctoral studies at Shantou University after the completion of the Research Institute building. This approach, mixing the academic institutions of the University of Hong Kong and Shantou University, which have vastly different academic reputations, creates a situation where Guan Yi's team operates as an independent kingdom separate from HKU. They have their own set of practices that significantly deviate from the conventional postgraduate training of other teams at HKU. This arrangement is highly detrimental to the development of PhD students pursuing their studies at the University of Hong Kong and does not align with the general expectations of PhD students at HKU. Given that Guan Yi has reached the retirement age at HKU, it is worth considering whether HKU would be willing to continue allowing the existence of such a joint research institute. In my opinion, the authorization for operating the HKU Shantou University Joint Virology Research Institute should be revoked. I urge the university to evaluate the viability of this mode of operation and assess the necessity of the HKU Shantou University Joint Virology Research Institute. Furthermore, Guan Yi suppresses the freedom of individual expression within the team and tolerates his subordinate Zhu Huochen's authoritative preaching of ideological positions in the team's chat group. His character is inconsistent and highly unethical. When it comes to certain current affairs and academic topics, Guan Yi behaves very cautiously and prohibits open discussion or engagement with them in the team's chat group. This is in stark contrast to his usual arrogant and aggressive demeanor. Mr. Li from the Chungkong Holdings is enthusiastic about charity and education, and over the years, he has donated a considerable amount of money through the Li Ka-shing Foundation. Guan Yi has also benefited from the funding and donations of the Li Ka-shing Foundation at Shantou University. The construction of the Virus Research Institute building at Shantou University received more than HKD 50 million in financial support from Mr. Li. Mr. Li's generous funding for Guan Yi can be described as benevolent and gracious. However, during a visit to a Buddhist temple, Mr. Li candidly expressed some heartfelt words about the social contradictions at that time, which unfortunately drew criticism and insults from many people in Hong Kong society. As a beneficiary of Mr. Li's long-term donations, Guan Yi should have avoided getting involved in these non-academic social events. However, at that time, Guan Yi allowed Zhu Huochen to initiate discussions on such social topics in the team's chat group. Furthermore, Zhu Huochen went on to dominate the group with a godfather-like ideological stance, vigorously promoting views completely contrary to those of Mr. Li. Her demeanor was overbearing, imposing, and uncompromising, resembling a zealous guardian of a dogmatic belief system and a spiritual mentor who broke no dissent. As a member of the communication group at that time, Guan Yi did not take any measures to prevent such preaching-like statements that were completely contrary to Mr. Li's beliefs. This resulted in Guan Yi indirectly allowing his subordinate to openly criticize and counter Mr. Li, who had been gracious to him. This behavior can be seen as two-faced. Furthermore, while Guan Yi demanded or even enforced that team members should not touch certain topics, he indulged his subordinate Zhu Huichen in preaching her ideological stance on those very topics in a way that never tolerated any dissenting views. Guan Yi's behavior was obviously biased. In addition, around 2010, there was a disagreement between Guan Yi, a former faculty member of the Department of Microbiology including the Sri Lankan scholar Malik Piris, and the then department head Dr. Yuan Kwok-yung. As a result, Guan Yi and others transferred to the School of Public Health under the jurisdiction of the Faculty of Medicine. Around 2013, Malik Piris took over the position of school director left vacant by the promotion of Dr. Gabriel Leon to the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine. The tenure evaluation of Zhu Huichen, a subordinate of Guan Yi, was completed within a short period of 3 to 4 years during Malik Piris' tenure. Given the relationship between Guan Yi and Malik Piris, as well as their long-term collaboration in research, the rapidity of the entire evaluation process raises suspicions of a conflict of interest. Moreover, considering the aforementioned facts about Zhu Huichen's mediocre academic abilities, it is highly incongruous with the prestigious and highly paid position of tenure at the University of Hong Kong. The entire process raises suspicions of behind-the-scenes manipulation, favoritism in hiring, and even job fraud. As the main driving force behind the rapid promotion of Zhu Huichen through the job evaluation process, Guan Yi bears an undeniable responsibility. As the then school director, Malik Piris, by turning a blind eye to Zhu Huichen's poor ability to independently conduct scientific research, tacitly allowed this controversial and rapidly approved job evaluation pushed by Guan Yi. He should also bear responsibility to provide a reasonable response to the incident. In conclusion, considering Guan Yi's past behaviors, including conflicts with his superior Yuan Kwok-yung, controversial approval of expelling his PhD student, favoritism in promoting and appointing subordinate Zhu Huichen who is obedient but academically mediocre, securing a tenure-track assistant professor position for Zhu Huichen from the school director despite her mediocre abilities, providing assistance and pushing for her rapid promotion to associate professor position in evaluations, which raises concerns of nepotism and conflicts of interest, establishing and working in educational research institutions in remote locations, serving in both places and conducting admissions, creating an independent kingdom detached from the governance system of HKU, it is inappropriate. It is widely known that he habitually shouts and verbally abuses students and subordinates, displaying extreme cruelty. He shows obsequiousness and smiles towards those in power or superiors but is arrogant, rude, and even insulting towards the weak or subordinates. His approach to matters lacks the humanistic spirit that should accompany academic pursuits, indicating that he has never been someone who is easy to get along with or treats others well. His actions are fundamentally inconsistent with the values and principles upheld by the University of Hong Kong. They have a negative impact on students who choose to pursue their education and advancement at HKU. The psychological and emotional negative effects he has on HKU students and subordinates may even outweigh the contributions he has made through publishing a few virus-related papers. Therefore, I request the 3 university presidents and the university administration to order Guan Yi to rectify his various improper behaviors. Otherwise, the university should evaluate whether Guan Yi is suitable to continue his employment at the University of Hong Kong. The aforementioned accusations against Zhu Huichen and the various improper behaviors attributed to Guan Yi described in the events are limited to early 2021. After leaving the position, I no longer follow their developments. The authenticity of the events described in the letter can be verified by the university through investigation. As a HKU alumnus and former employee, my good conduct can also be verified by the institutions where I received education or worked, including City University of Hong Kong, University of Hong Kong, and Chinese University of Hong Kong. I solemnly assure the authenticity of the events described above, and I am willing to provide further evidence and publicly testify under my real name if necessary. I am also prepared to take legal responsibility for any false information. I earnestly request the 3 university presidents and the university administration to investigate and address the alleged violations and potential legal issues of Zhu Huichen. I also urge for an investigation into and correction of the various inappropriate and potentially unlawful actions of Guan Yi. I hope that the university administration will give sufficient attention to my accusations and provide a positive response. Thank you. Li Puiyuan, Ph.D. July 2022.